to the Awesemo.com NBA strategy show presented by No House Advantage. I am Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on Twitter, joined by Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman, breaking down a 10-gamer with you today as Dogecoin makes its way to the top of the pack, somehow about to have like a $70 million or billion dollars, market cap within the coming days. There are going to be so many people left holding the bags. Just this is some. Yeah. It's an outrageous thing to watch. And there's a lot of people trying to ride this wave, which in all seriousness, good for you. If you got in on it early, good for you. That's awesome. But if you're jumping in now, you have to have some understanding of what you're working with. And you're talking about, if it keeps going, people are saying 50 cents. That means it'll be the third highest market cap crypto in all of the world. Think about that. Doesn't make much sense. Doesn't add up, does it?
No, not so much. I do wish that like there were, I'm always thinking like, do I just buy it and hold it and not pay attention to it? It's just like, no, it's a garbage coin. It's a fake coin for all intents and purposes. And then Mark Cuban starts taking it and use it to pay for stuff at Mavs games. And it's like, okay, maybe it's not as fake as it seems, or maybe it is. And he's just hilarious. I don't know. It's great.
Yeah. Someone tried to convince me that it had utility because it was accepted at like Mavs games. And then it turns out like $100 in total Doge has been spent in like transactionary, so yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's crazy. It's a wild world we're living in right now. It's $49 billion market cap, 49 billion.
It's nuts. It's truly nuts.
It really is.
It makes
I'm no
no
financial
sense.
advisor, but be safe because if you're jumping, oh my God.
Make sure you put that in your Twitter bio next to how you put a transformational book out.
Wait, hold on. What does that mean?
Our boy that used to hand out roses on our website.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you were talking about me putting out a check. It's at almost 40 cents. Are you?
It's so stupid.
Oh God, that's incredible. It's just minting millionaires as we speak. Legitimately minting millionaires as we speak.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Oh man, I wish I got in on that. I did. I got in at like 1 cent and sold at 8 cents, and I thought I was a genius.
That's the thing. You got to just sit on it and forget. And hope for the best.
Well, I'm thinking it's got a dump. It's got back. How does it not? Like, do people just keep their money?
Yeah, but even if it does, like, if you buy $1,000 worth of it at a penny, it's just like you can just tell yourself you're eating that 1,000. And if it happens to be the stupidest thing in the history of the world, and you turn 1,000 into $100,000,
sure.
Like, cool.
This was a decent amount more than that. It would have been wiser, you're right, just to have a smaller investment. So if I lost it, it is what it is. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll waste it on slots or something. And we'll waste $1,000 a lot easier than that.
Oh, triple diamonds. I've gone through that in 15 minutes before. So easily, easily.
Yeah. Thank God I don't have to produce the stupid Tuesday golf show with Ben anymore, because we would lead into that one with me just dumping money playing slots for the 15, 20 minutes. It's just gone. 15 minutes. Tim would get there and be like, oh, slots again. And it was just like, oh, no, I already lost that money, Tim. The slots are done.
Yeah, I'd have an electric day on the triple diamond slots. And I'd wake up the next morning feeling great. Everything looks awesome. The problem is if you're playing on Draftkings, it's in your bankroll is in there with what I use to sports bet. And that's just so dangerous. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I even asked them to self-exclude me from just the casino, and they said they can't do that. It would have been a wise decision though, right? Like just cut me out, because you better believe after that electric day I had, the very next day I said, I'm on a roll, baby. Let's keep this going. And that roll did come to an abrupt end.
I swear it's the Bovada Golden Gorillas or Golden Buffaloes, whatever one it is, whatever one Ben tells me to play, and I inevitably lose my money. It's never good. I'll have good runs when I do it by myself. The moment that I'm like, yo, Ben, I'm going to play slots for like 20 minutes. Do you want to watch? And it's just like, I'll fire it up, do the screen share. The moment I start sharing my screen, it's like it knows that. And I won't even get it. Like, it'll just be like losing spin, losing spin, losing spin, losing spin. Like, I'm not even getting, I got 25 cents back on a $5 spin. Cool.
It's awful. And then you up the spins because you're like, I got to hit soon. I get, gambler's fallacy, right?
Yep. So, every time, dude. Every time.
Never works. But
nope,
we're happy to have you guys with us. We got 10 games to talk about here, and we can dive right into these. But first, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It helps us greatly improve the channel, grow the channel, bring in new hosts, bring in new analysts, improve the production quality, you name it. Free content. If you think it's good, you appreciate what we do around here. Easiest, simplest, and freest way to show some support is hit that subscribe and the like button. All right, let's dive into it, man. We got 11 games on the day, but only 10 on this slate. So we kick it off with New Orleans and Washington. 240 total in this game. Pels are 2-point favorites. This should see a lot of scoring. And, from what we've seen, even with Bradley Beal back, Russell Westbrook just keeps putting up insanely good games, triple-double after triple-double. We'll get to him in a second. But with New Orleans, Lonzo Ball's expected back. We still know that Josh Hart and Alexander Walker are out for an extended period of time. Aside from them, though, Josh, everyone else, like all your big guns, your Zions, your Ingrams, and now your Lonzo and your Eric Bledsoe, if you want to consider him that, they're all healthy. Are there price points here that are decent enough to get to, or are we looking at some really prohibitive spots?
So it's kind of either boom or bust for this game. I don't have a lot of guys that I like, but the guys that I do like, I like quite a bit. On the Washington side, it's easy. You're playing a lot of Bradley Beal. You're playing a lot of Russell Westbrook, depending on which site, too. Like Bradley Beal is still 8,400 on Fanduel. He's back to playing 36 minutes a game. You just play a lot of him. There's no other way around it. The ownership is coming in. Don't overthink it. Probably a close to a cash game lock. It depends on a 10-game slate, but like he is a very high-end cash game consideration. You always have to be looking at Russell Westbrook at this point, no matter what, because he's basically just guaranteed 29-9 as the baseline. And then you start stacking stats on top of that. Sometimes it breaks well, sometimes it doesn't. The only other piece that I really want from Washington would be Rui on FanDuel. He's 4,900 on FanDuel. He's 6K on DraftKings. You're not paying 6K for Rui on a day like today. But 4,900 is a really nice value for a guy playing, 34, 36 minutes. Those are the three guys that I'm looking at Washington. I can't imagine rostering anybody else from the Wiz.
So you're talking about both teams here?
No. We got to talk about the legend that is Zion Williamson.
Okay, well, that was actually the team I threw to you with, and I guess you just kind of took it upon yourself to go to Washington. That's okay, but it's okay. It's okay. I did mention Westbrook, so I can see where the wires got crossed. I just
assumed we were starting with the road team like we normally do.
Right. Correct. We are.
Okay. Now on to the New Orleans Pelicans.
The road team.
Nah, shit.
Yeah.
I could have swore this game was in New Orleans. So
let me set it back up though. Zion's 10K on DraftKings now. Ingram's 8,500. Lonzo's 7,500, and now all three of them are expected to play. Is it still worth getting to them?
It's still worth getting to Zion, in my opinion. 10K on FanDuel, 10K on DK, and a matchup against the Washington Wizards, the fastest team in the league. They gain close to 5 possessions over their average just from this matchup. That is enough for me. Zion's been at 1.46 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days. I'm going just a hair under that rate, but I think that sort of fantasy production is here to stay. He's projected for 20% ownership on FanDuel. I will have more than that. He's projected for 10% ownership on DraftKings. I don't mind having more than that. I don't mind getting to $8,300 Brandon Ingram on FanDuel. I think he's less appealing on DraftKings. I don't really want anything else from the Pelicans. I don't really like the price tags anywhere else. But if you're paying for the high end today, Zion, Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, it's really hard to go wrong in this game.
Welcome to the team, Joe. You can hit that join button down there like Joe just did. Become part of the team here at Awesemo. Pretty cool. You get the badges. They go up from however. I don't know what the progression is, Josh, but I know we got some sick ones like the silver to the gold to the platinum to the diamond to the Awesemo gradient, but I just don't know how long it takes. Maybe it's like a month each. It's pretty cool.
Can we comp these? I went on to our the real side, trying to give my personal self the badge. Couldn't figure out how to do it. So
here's what you have to do. And I was thinking we could gift these, but it's kind of weird. You basically have to go on to like Amazon and you'd be sending YouTube gift credits out. Yeah, it's stupid. It's really dumb.
I don't need the badge then.
No, it's really dumb. It makes
people know who I am.
You wanted to use those gnarly emojis, I bet, right?
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, I'll just add myself since obviously I have every single permission on the back end. Couldn't even figure out how to do that. And if I can't figure it out, it's probably not out there. And by the way, I was listening to you. I just typed Washington in my first cell, and that usually just puts the road team on the left and the home team on the right for everything that I have. I just typed it in wrong.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So are you going to pay the $2.99 to get the badge?
No.
I'm going to do it.
I'm not.
I'm going to do it right now, as a matter of fact.
That's great. The perfect timing, man. You do that while the rest of the show just continues to happen.
Well,
don't worry. I'll keep carrying it.
You haven't. Yes, you've been carrying it phenomenally thus far.
You act like I read off a different team. At least they're in this game. You're acting like I picked some game that started at 10 o'clock.
Oh, so do you think Zion, Ingram, and Lonzo are too expensive? Well, I'd say Russell Westbrook is a really strong play today.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fair.
OKC and Detroit. The Oklahoma City Thunder on the road here against the Detroit Pistons. 3.5 point dogs, 216 total. SGA is nearing a return, it appears, but he's still out today. We'll get to the injury news, a couple big pieces on Detroit. But first, Pogačevski also out. They just continue to deal with one after another. But aside from that, they're, I guess, somewhat okay. Now, this is not expected to be a high-scoring game. But at the same time, both of these teams are so bad, Josh, and there's so many injuries on the Detroit side or guys getting rested that I think this game is still going to have some things that we can look towards, even if it's not guys that we feel spectacular about on a daily basis. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I'm looking at this Pistons team with no Jeremy Grant and no Mason Plumlee, and I just see a lot of value, whether that's Isaiah Stewart or Saban Lee, Sadiq Bey. And I can't even get a smile out of you for reading off the wrong team again. Come on, man. I'm trying here.
Sorry, I pulled at you and stopped listening.
I went straight to the Pistons. So
my fault.
I don't have a ton here for Oklahoma City.
I was trying to enter my PayPal information.
By the way, you said Pogačevski had the perfect opportunity to say pogo stick, and you skipped it.
Yes, you're
breaking my heart here.
You're doing great today.
I don't think that anybody on Oklahoma City looks like a good play. I think that we're looking for contrarian GPP options. Everybody's sort of priced where they should be. Like on FanDuel, Brown, Roby, Maladon, Baisley, and Dort are all like 6 to 8% for me. Welcome to the team, Awesemo, Dave Loughran. Congratulations. I think all those guys are all just like, 6 to 8%ers. Nothing too crazy. I did give Lou Dort a pretty sizable usage bump for this game just to see the impact. Gets into the optimal on DK 12% of the time. We're projecting 6% ownership. I clearly don't expect him to have the same sort of game that he had the last time out where he shot 97 times. But it appears that when most of these guys are off and Dort is healthy, he does have increased usage into the low to mid 20s. If you give him that, I think that he can be a viable option today, but there are no priorities coming from Oklahoma City, unfortunately.
Lou Dort too. I wonder if we're going to see some expand or elevated ownership on somebody like Lou Dort today coming off that last game. Like, do you think there's going to be some heavy chase with a 31 field goal attempt game, 42 points, and now he faces a hamstrung Detroit team that probably isn't going to slow anybody down?
Per our ownership projections, no. If you told me that,
are we updated?
Okay. We are. He's at 6% on DK.
Wow. Okay.
But I like him at 12. So if I knew that it was at 6, I would like to double that up in a GPP.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't want to go too crazy here. These guys are filler at best.
Detroit's going to be without Jeremy Grant. They're going to be without Mason Plumlee. They're going to be without Corey Joseph, who Adam and I talked up quite a bit after playing some really strong games with Detroit, and then he played miserably. But he's got that left ankle soreness now. By the way, Dennis Smith Jr., Wayne Ellington might not seem like significant pieces. Rodney Magruder also out. So you're dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, and all of them at least somewhat rotational pieces here. I feel like this could open things up quite a bit. And if you pull up ownership right now, what did we just get it updated like 10 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
You have, as I would have expected, insane ownership going towards the Pistons right now.
Yeah, the problem for me here is that I don't really know what to do with a lot of the minutes. Like, we have Killian Hayes projected for 36% ownership, and we have Saban Lee at 5. Saban Lee is a much better fantasy performer, at least he has been, than Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes has been okay since he's been back, but I really don't know how to manage that, especially with Saben Lee being $400 cheaper. I'm guessing Killian Hayes gets the start. I just don't know how many minutes he could actually play. So paying attention to that will be interesting, because I know that he's not just going to get like high 30s. They're still working him back from his injury. Isaiah Stewart is the clear best option here. He's been either starting or playing as the full-time backup for a while now. He will be starting here. 4,800 on Fanduel, 4,400 on Draftkings. But Isaiah Stewart is a Fanduel power forward, and that makes him very appealing. He's also projected for 40% ownership. But either way, you're getting there. Sadiq Bey looks like a great value on both sites. I have no issues there. Trying to figure out the point guard run. You're going to play them both. If Saben Lee really is 5% owned on DK, I think that he is one of the better contrarian options you'll find. Not that he's going to be good, but like if something happens to Killian Hayes, it's just going straight to Saben Lee. They're just missing most of the other guards that would take that time. I don't really know why Hamidou Diallo is projected for 28% ownership on FanDuel. I don't want to get that much for sure. I don't really want 20% Killian Hayes on FanDuel either. I think Detroit looks a lot better on DK than they do on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah, welcome to the team, Laffy. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. And I'm assuming that's campaign. There's an apostrophe in there. Campaigny? I don't know. Welcome to the team. No, brother. We're building up that team. Building up that team. We got an army over here at Awesemo. Anything else for Detroit?
We have an army? Is it like a DFS army?
No. I wouldn't say it that much. I wouldn't go.
No, we're like the DFS Black Ops.
We're the squad.
Yeah.
Black Ops? Yeah, okay. Nah, because that would kind of be like a behind the scenes thing, right?
I don't know. I just know that I don't want to be in the DFS army.
Well, I would not call us the DFS army. I'm just saying we got an army going on here because there's so many of us. That's all. Clippers, Philadelphia. Sixers are 3-point home favorites, 221 total here. Now, the Clippers had been without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard for a couple of games there. And right now you've got Kawhi Leonard questionable to play. Paul George is off the injury report. Ibaka and Beverly are out. Now, with one of them, do you anticipate Kawhi playing today?
I have him in. Obviously, that is an important piece of information, and we'll get it. But I don't really know.
The reason I ask is because assuming he's in and assuming the line is accounting for that, that means that Vegas has this as an equal home on a neutral floor, neutral court, that this would be a neutral game with two evenly matched teams.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Well, Tobias Harris questionable as well. I think that largely offsets with Kawhi. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard is a much better player than Tobias Harris in the grand scheme of things, but their ambiguity is probably a wash on both sides for this one. So yeah, showing them as a pretty close to equal right now.
I just thought the Clippers at full strength were better than the Sixers at full strength, honestly, but it's probably pretty close.
I think the Sixers are a really good matchup for the Clippers.
You're saying
Sorry, a bad matchup for the Clippers.
In what sense?
They've got long, athletic wing defenders to go up against a Paul. They're uniquely set up to take on Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers don't really have a great answer for Embiid. Zubac is close-ish, but it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't think they have
anyone. It's not DeMarcus Cousins. That much I could tell you.
No, it comes down to the Sixers being able to put teams away and win against good teams. I know that sounds very like cookie cutter-ish, but if you've watched them and if with Philly fans watching this, they know they haven't beat any good teams this year, at least not handily. So we'll see. It should be a fun game. What matters today is talking from a DFS standpoint. What are we going to do with the Clippers, who you just said are in a tough matchup against Philly?
If Kawhi Leonard plays, you don't play anyone from the Clippers at all. It's all red for me. I guess maybe if Kawhi is unowned, you can get to him on FanDuel because of the position. But I'm not interested in anything for the Clippers whatsoever. Feel free to fire up a little bit of Paul George if Kawhi Leonard ends up out. I can't imagine rostering anything here. It's a bad matchup. Philly's defense is good. It's not going to be like a particularly large pace. This is more of a defensive-oriented game. So no thank you for the Clippers today.
All right. And yes, chat, we know there's a DFS army. That was Josh's. That's where Josh was going with that.
God.
He was trying to distance himself.
There's no subtlety anywhere anymore.
Never. Do you like anything from Philly if Harris is in or out?
Yeah, so there's this guy that's he's got a really nice price tag on FanDuel today at a crisp $6,900.
Sign me up. Below 7. He's much closer to becoming where I said he was going to be.
Sign me up for Ben Simmons today at 6,900. Projected for 13% ownership. That's exactly where I think he should be. This isn't a great DFS spot, and that's stopping me from really unloading a full clip for Ben Simmons. But he's the best play on Philly today, on FanDuel at least. On DraftKings, you can get to Embiid. I think Embiid is a pretty neutral play today as well. Get him in the 10 to 15% range and be happy. It's just really difficult for me to prioritize Joel Embiid over Nikola Jokic on a day like today now, especially with Jamal Murray out. But I am very, very, very much Ben Simmonsing it today. Have to. I don't see a way right. Went for 46.3 FanDuel points in his last game to shut everybody else up for a bit. If he goes for 46.3 again at 6,900, that is a very, very good outcome.
He did have a decent game.
Yeah, well aware.
For the first time in like how many months? A couple months, right?
He has a good game every day, man.
In his head, maybe in your head. That's why you keep going back to him. I think it's 6,900. Ben Simmons is a pretty good, damn good play, actually. Yeah. And he has the upside just to be able to give you strong peripherals, but his shot volume, his usage has been god awful, man. And then even if he gets to the line, he's only making half of them anyway. So you're going to need those stocks, brother. You're going to need those boards and those assists.
I'm willing to take my chances at 6,900. I'm significantly less likely to take my chances at 7,800 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I would hope so. Charlotte and Brooklyn. Let's go to this one. Charlotte Hornets, 12.5 point dogs, 222.5 point total. The Charlotte Hornets, they lost LaMelo, then they lost Hayward. Now they're without Devontae Graham. They lost Malik Monk. PJ Washington's coming into this game doubtful. I mean, it's not getting any easier for them at all, Josh. Brad Wanamaker, questionable. They're just playing with a pure skeleton squad at this point. I don't know what to say. There's not a lot here from a talent standpoint, but they're going to have to play 240 minutes somehow.
Yeah, when you said there's not a lot here, I was like, what are you talking about? I needed you to finish that. I needed you to finish that sentence. Yeah, you were good. You were good. But at first I was just like, change of plans. There's a lot here.
What I'm saying is they don't have a lot of bodies, but they have to fill the 48 minutes per position.
I gave Grant Riller, whatever that is, 7 minutes. And Brad Wanamaker is oddly important. They don't have point guard type people on this team. If Brad Wanamaker can't play, Terry Rozier might have to play 40 minutes. So let's work our way through this. There are 4 plays on this team today. Caleb Martin, Jalen McDaniels, Terry Rozier, obviously, and Miles Bridges. That could change a little bit if Brad Wanamaker gets ruled out. You can get to Bismack Biyombo at 3,500 today on FanDuel, but he's just not I don't think it's worth it. The opportunity cost isn't there for you. But he probably the starting center with PJ Washington out. So Caleb Martin is the flat minimum on FanDuel, 3,600 on DraftKings. We have him projected for like 12 to 13% ownership. That's ludicrous to me. I think he's going to have to play like 30 minutes today. They're just running out of legitimate bodies, and he's usually the first guy up to grab more time. So I like doubling up on Caleb Martin. There's no reason to skip out on Terry Rozier on FanDuel at just $7K. He is going to do whatever he wants. If he wants to have a 40% usage game today, Terry Rozier is going to have a 40% usage game. They don't really have many other alternatives for shot creation. He's 8,100 on DraftKings, and that still looks good to me. McDaniels is going to have to play like 35 minutes today in the mid fives. I'm in there. We only have him projected for 5% ownership on FanDuel. I like that as a GPP play. Like somebody's just going to have to soak up this time one way or the other. And then finally, Miles Bridges, obviously like an actual starter for this team, generally speaking. I don't love the price tag, 6,400 on FanDuel and 6,400 on DraftKings, but you have to take a shot just because he's likely to play 36 minutes if this game could even be a hint of competitive.
Jeremy Savage with the super chat says, how much money has Josh lost playing Simmons? Fortunately, when you play 150 lineups, he's not playing 100% Simmons. That would be bad news.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I mean, the day that he hits and it goes well is the day that it pays off all of it before that and many multiples on top of it. Like,
yep.
I lose money on in 150 max GPP setting a lot. That's just how this works.
Yes, it is.
I'm not trying to min cash.
James Harden is our boy Gundacker that does the MLB shows, which check out, by the way. He said something that I've never heard, and I've been in this industry for a long time. He was like, I'm a GPP player, so I'm fine if I just EKG my way along. And I thought that was such a good one-liner, right? It's pretty solid.
It's true. It's true.
But, you
just keep waiting for that day, Josh. He just had his last game was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a good game.
Yeah, like people forget that guys have prices. It's really true. Like we got to stop acting like Ben Simmons is 8,600 coming into today. It's just it's not the case.
I hear you. I mean, granted, you've been calling him a value play since like 8,500, but point remains.
And I was right.
Well,
Look, I'm just going to EKG my way to the top with Ben Simmons, man. Sorry, Gunn, for ripping you off on that one.
It's a good one. He ain't ripping me off.
It is really good.
Brooklyn Nets, no Harden still, but Irving and Durant, they'll be back on the court together today. There's pretty much nothing else going on outside of that. They're 12.5-point favorites. They could just make real quick work of this team or of this Charlotte team today. We haven't had really many instances at all with all three of the big guns on the floor together. It's like under 200 minutes this season, which is really remarkable. So we have a decent idea of what we should be expecting here, but still very, very little ownership going to the Brooklyn Nets today.
Yeah, and I agree with it. No, whole team's unplayable to me. I don't have anything to say. I don't really want to roster any of these guys. I'm good.
All right. Yeah, Kyrie Irving, just that price point. He's basically priced for no Harden and no Durant.
Yeah. Like he's really good. Like he's going to put up fantasy points, but of all the, like, there's a lot of guys priced in that salary tier and they have a much bigger upside. And I'm not thinking about a blowout, but I think it's a much more likely scenario that Kyrie Irving isn't playing 36 minutes in a competitive game here today.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we talked a lot about Stephen Curry at a price point a little bit higher than that. It was like $400 or $500 above that, but about him really needing those huge point total games in order to do it. And then of course, 2 games in a row, that's exactly what he does. Right. But Stephen Curry doesn't have a Kevin Durant playing alongside of him either. It's kind of a significant factor in all of this. Yeah. Kyrie Irving still, while Harden may be out, he still has Kevin Durant there. Steph Curry's on his own out there in Golden State from a usage standpoint. So there's a difference there for sure.
Yeah, like even if you project Kyrie at his most recent 30-minute per game rate, 1.45, he's fine. Look, again, if you land on Kyrie, I'm never going to talk anybody out of the elite play of the day. I think he's a little overpriced, but there's just too many other options today.
Yeah, Arcathelza says Irving will put up a Curry. Yeah, you guys are probably right because we've just done a great job of turning things in the complete opposite direction when it comes to guys like that. Yeah. Orlando and Toronto. And if you guys didn't know, before I get to this game, all of our shows available in podcast form. If you want to check them out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you listen to podcasts, go ahead and do that. Maybe you don't want to put your phone in your pocket. You don't have YouTube Premium. You don't want to leave the screen on, something like that. Check it out in podcast form. Leave us a review. Leave us a rating too while you're at it because that stuff helps. But yeah, all these things, unless it's the deeper dive or live before lock where there's no shelf life at all, everything goes straight to the podcast platform immediately after we're on YouTube. Orlando 2.5-point dogs against the Toronto Raptors. Josh, you heard that right. And I just want everyone to hear that again. Orlando 2.5-point road dogs against the Toronto Raptors. Yes, that same Orlando team that traded almost everyone at the trade deadline is a 2.5-point favorite. So that, of course, begs the question, what's going on with Toronto? Well, no Siakam, no Lowry, no Anunoby. Gary Trent Jr. is questionable. DeAndre Bembry's questionable. I think actually Trent's doubtful to play in this one. So there's not a lot. So is Bembry. This is another game that we're going to have to dig deep into. But when I saw Orlando was less than a field goal dog, I knew something was going on.
Unfortunately, we've got to play like decent chunks of this game. Terrence Ross would be my preferred option on FanDuel. He's 5,200. That is back to a price tag that I think is manageable. He'll have carte blanche to take whatever shots he wants today. And at that price tag, Terrence Ross is the only guy on Orlando that I think has legitimate 40 real point upside, which is what you're going to need from him, granted. But at 5,200, I'm willing to take that shot. Guessing Cole Anthony gets the start with no Michael Carter-Williams. He's 4,900 on FanDuel, 5,100 on DraftKings. Happy to go there. Everybody else for Orlando is in single digits in ownership. I think you could pick off a couple more of these guys in large field GPPs, whether that's Gary Harris at the flat min on FanDuel. RJ Hampton is 3,700 on FanDuel. Wendell Carter Jr., if Mo Bamba happens to be out, is 6K on FanDuel and 6,200 on DraftKings. There aren't heavy priorities here to me outside of Terrence Ross on FanDuel. But at the very least, you have to be paying attention to this Orlando team because they're actually in a decent spot.
They are in a decent spot. And Toronto is in a decent spot if you want to get into some of the guys that are going to be active. I found it very strange to see Fred VanVleet not listed on the injury report too, because not very long ago, Nick Nurse said he wasn't close to a return. And now it appears that he served a suspension and is going to be active today. So yeah. Is VanVleet going to return and then be chalk and then be super limited in his minutes? I don't have an answer for you there. But what I do know is that seriously less than a week ago, Nick Nurse, or around a week ago, Nick Nurse said, I don't think he's close to returning. And now here he is tonight.
Unless they've made a team decision to punt for the rest of the season, I expect Fred VanVleet to be playing what amounts to his normal run. Now, I gave him 32 minutes to try to be a little bit more pessimistic, but we have never seen Toronto or Fred VanVleet come back and be like, oh, he's playing 20 minutes. Like that has been very rare.
Yeah, Nick Nurse does not do that. He runs a pretty tight rotation.
So I think we have to pretty heavily play this Toronto team. Malachi Flynn is 5,500 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DraftKings. He looks great on FanDuel. Fred VanVleet is 7,400 on FanDuel and 7,900 on DraftKings. He's my number one contender on FanDuel today. And I think that at 32 minutes, there is even upside in his playing time. Wouldn't shock me at all if it were competitive if he played 34 or 36 minutes. And I don't think that we have to be all that worried about him playing or not because he served the suspension. He is just fully in today. Chris Boucher, 7,500 on FanDuel, 7,100 on DraftKings. Last time out started alongside Khem Birch at the 4. I will happily go back to Boucher. Either site is fine, FanDuel or DK. Yuta Watanabe, flat minimum on both sites, 3,500 on FanDuel, 3K on DK. He's a value play that you cannot avoid. I think he's probably the best play on DraftKings at the flat minimum 3K. He's solid at 3,500 on FanDuel. I don't know how many minutes he plays. I gave him 26. Otherwise, you just have to start guessing on Stanley Johnson, Paul Watson, Rodney Hood. I don't know who's going to get the minutes in this entire group. We are apparently liking Rodney Hood. I don't know if his body has the ability to play enough minutes to do that. Hasn't done that lately. But either way, we're looking at Watanabe, Boucher, Flynn, VanVleet, and Birch as guys you should have in like 15 to 30% of your lineups, depending on site and price. It's gross.
This game, yeah, it's not one on first glance that you would think is good, but Orlando and specifically Toronto with what, 4 of their top guys out, 5 of their top 6 probably. It's going to put them all in play. So I'm with you here. The only thing I would say is how many minutes do you give Boucher today?
I give him 30.
Give him 30? Okay.
Yeah.
Because they've just been all over the map, no matter who's in or out, you know?
Barring foul trouble, I don't know how they give him anything like low today.
Yeah.
Unless they dust Aaron Baines back off, but I don't. Now that if they're willing to play him on the 4 at the 4 alongside Khem Birch, then I think the minutes don't go anywhere.
All right, let's go to Denver and Houston then. The Nuggets, by the way, they smoked Miami. They beat them up. I was not right on that one. I actually didn't end up taking it because Jimmy Butler got ruled questionable, so I sat on that for a little while. And then once he was ruled in, I hit it at 6, and they lost by like way more than 6, so it didn't matter anyway. But that happens. Denver came in. Maybe they rallied around the Jamal Murray injury, but they actually looked pretty good. Now they have a much easier matchup, 8.5-point favorites on the road against Houston, 225.5 total. Nikola Jokic has ridiculous numbers without Jamal Murray this season. Are we going straight back to him today against the Rockets?
I am. I think he looks great. Ownership is already there, mid-20s already. I agree with it on both
It's
sides.
almost 30 on DraftKings.
Yeah, 11K on FanDuel, 10.9 on DraftKings, fully warranted, both sites, not going a different direction. Second favorite play here is Michael Porter Jr. He's been playing a ton as of late, been shooting a ton as of late. I think that is only going to rise slightly with Jamal Murray off the floor, becomes the second best offensive player for Denver. I'm happily paying $7,400 for him. He's another guy that I want to have in like the 20 to 25% range. I think Barton and Aaron Gordon are both viable as a value option. If you wanted to go to like Monty Morris on DK at 3,700, I think you can go that direction. But I am only prioritizing Jokic and Porter here.
All right. And then the rest of this team is basically just filler, if that.
Yeah, at best, filler. Everybody's in single digits in ownership on DK, and I agree with that. Aaron Gordon's at 10% ownership on FanDuel. That's fine, but I'm not overly concerned with it.
We don't have a ton of ownership going to the Houston Rockets today. Guys like John Wall should get a little bit of attention. We have him around 12%, but it kind of falls off a cliff outside of that. Christian Wood, at least on DraftKings, his price tag continues to increase. Kevin Porter Jr., 6,800. But did you see, though, he did play 40 minutes again in regulation last game.
I saw wild minutes there.
I'm not saying you project him for 40, but I think you're going to keep seeing Kevin Porter play huge minutes every night. Take that for what it's worth. He hasn't exactly paid off that price point with those minutes every single time, but there's enough there. If his price at least dips a little bit more for us to feel decent about it. He's definitely not the most consistent player, even with the minutes though.
Yeah, I gave him 35 minutes here. And to me, there are three guys you could play. On FanDuel, it's a little bit better than it is on DraftKings, but it's the same three guys. It's John Wall, it's Christian Wood, it's Kevin Porter. If you're asking me who my preference is overall, it's going to be John Wall, about 12% ownership on both sites. That is spot on to me. I like Christian Wood a little bit more than the public on FanDuel at 7,800. He's 8,300 on DK, a little bit more of a tough sell. And then finally, Porter, that minutes upside is undeniable. If he plays 40 minutes, that's great. 6,600 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DraftKings. He's like a 10%er. That works for me. Otherwise, I'm not interested in Houston. I can't be paying 6,100 or 6,500 for Kelly Olynyk right now.
Yeah, I don't think I can do that either. Or do I want to do that? Really, from this game, you're just looking at Jokic, you're looking at Porter, and sprinkles of Houston?
Jokic, Porter, Wall, and Wood. Jokic, okay. Michael Porter, Wall, and Wood would be like priorities. Kevin Porter Jr., you have to go there. But I do prefer Christian Wood to him pretty significantly.
All right, fair enough. Now, with Memphis and Chicago, the Grizzlies are 4-point favorites, 224.5 total. Why are they 4-point favorites? Well, first of all, the Bulls are not a very good team. Second, Zach LaVine entering the health and safety protocol, which means their guy that's been racking up 40-plus points a night won't be on the court tonight, and that's going to hurt them pretty significantly, Josh. Do we like anything from the Grizzlies?
No, not really. I will recommend Ja Morant once again, 6,900 and 7,100 on DraftKings as a potential GPP play at no ownership. It's actually a worse matchup for Ja Morant now that Zach LaVine is off the floor. That could actually put somebody a little bit better on defense out there. Maybe Garrett Temple gets more minutes, but I can't push too hard for Morant other than just low ownership and decent price. Minutes have been up. That's another good checkbox in the right direction, but 0.95 fantasy points per minute as of late hasn't been all that fun. Joe Val's getting a little bit of love. I don't really see it. I don't mind it, but I don't really see it. The price is pretty high at this point. There's not a lot there for Memphis, and there usually isn't. So that kind of makes sense to me.
How does Zach LaVine's absence affect what we're doing with the Bulls tonight?
I don't think that it matters all that much, which is kind of bonkers, but we'll see where the minute, who picks up the run is what's going to be really crazy. I think Kobe White probably sees a little bit of time, but I don't know if he gets into the 30s. I gave him 28 minutes. He's 3,800 on FanDuel. We only have him projected for 5% ownership, so he looks like a nice GPP option. But I don't have anybody else that really pops more than 5 to 10% of lineups. You would think you would want to go to a little bit more Vooch. It's fine. I don't mind him. I think there are just better center options out there today. I think that they might go to Lauri Markkanen a little bit more. With Levine leaving the floor, they're going to need someone to create a little bit more offense. If that's Markkanen, we shall see. He's 3,700 on Fanduel now, which is kind of crazy. 3,900 on DraftKings. You have to kind of just pick random bulls because I think White, Tice, Satoransky, Vooch, Markkanen, Patrick Williams, you can get to 5% of all of these guys. There are no priorities here. That might change if we get a starting lineup. I'm not really like, I think Satoransky and Kobe White are probably going to start in the backcourt, at which point you feel a little bit better about Kobe White, but I don't have any priorities here because Memphis is just not a great DFS matchup.
We talked about Tice last game though on Wednesday, saying if maybe he'll get another 27, and he did. He's now played 27 or more minutes in 4 of his last 5.
Yeah.
It doesn't make him a special play, but I think at 3,700, close to minimum salary for a player that on the season is like a 0.85 fantasy point per minute player or close to that, I don't think he makes for a bad option if you're trying to squeeze him in. The only thing that sucks is he's only center eligible.
He's also already owned 11%, which I think is pretty that's what you're. There's no value to. Yeah, there's no value to squeeze out of it. That's right. What he should be. I agree with it. He's just like a guy today.
All right, Tyler, let's hit the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Josh, we pulled it off on the deeper dive for the first 2 days. It was a lot of fun. We had a couple really big winners. I should have grabbed Rinpacks on here, even though we're trying to do a lot of viewers. Rinpack had, and I forgot to do lineup study anyway today, but Rinpack took down, I think, second place in the big one on DraftKings for 22K. Yeah. And then in the night slate, he came in like 4th or 5th for another 3,500. So just another night where he just crushed.
Yep, smacked second yesterday. I actually, do I still have it pulled up? Yeah, I did because I did my job. Rinpack finished second for 30K. I think Shady Nasty, who finished third for 15K, is also one of our premium subs. So we took second and third there. But shouts to Rinpack, winning that money.
Yeah, Tyler.
Watch the slate starter, baby.
Yeah, go back to that screen, Tyler. So we had Colton's dad. I'm assuming that's how we're saying it. Colton's dad with the 2K win, said just a weekend player, but with the help of Live Before Lock and Alex's projections, I got a winner. Jody Grant. That looks like a Russian bot Twitter handle, though, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Jody G. By the way, I'm 100% joking. Anything I say, do not take me seriously in that respect.
100% serious.
Now, if you ever go on political Twitter, anyone that says anything untoward towards somebody political is either a Russian bot or, something else. That looked a little bottish to me. And then this one that I can't pronounce, tied for first with himself, took down 12K there and another 600. The coolest thing about this, and the reason we do this, Josh, is because if you download the avatar, use it, go to awesemo.com/avatar, you download it, put it on your own for whatever site you're playing, and you take top 3 in any contest with 5,000 entries or more, boom, you win, send it. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Send it to us, and you get a free month of Awesemo Plus. Everything included, all sports. It's $100 value. You can't beat that.
No, it takes no effort. It's just a picture change on FanDuel and DK. And if you end up getting into that top 3, you get a free month of content at awesemo.com. Projections, ownership, for everything. For a free month. It's not sports specific. You get a free month of everything.
Yep. Shaquem asked if we change the Hall of Fame slides daily. Yeah, we're trying to, but we hadn't done it on this show yet. So take the one from yesterday. But yes, as more come in, we're going to continue to do that. And I think we got more coming in for later tonight. So keep your eyes out. If you want to take a look at the tools that are used to win these, a lot of times, some of these people just watch the shows, which is awesome. But Rinpack is using the Awesemo tools. Alex Baker built and uses these tools every single day. We have masterminds behind the scenes, like some of the best DFS players out there working on these tools all the time, every single morning. Like Steve Buzzard, you might not see his face a ton, but this guy is really good at DFS. Millie Maker winner, probably like a 4-time 100K winner. Sean Zahn being another one. Alex, Tom Kennedy, CEO of Awesemo, one of the highest ranked DFS players. Eddie, who's behind the scenes. All of their work goes into these tools, and that's why people win with these tools. Go on to awesemo.com/promos or /join.
Absolutely. I have nothing else to say. I agree 100% with you.
I mean, that's all you need to say. I don't need to do a sales pitch. I can tell you who works on them, who builds them, and who uses them, and who wins money. And you can just look at the top of the leaderboard. You don't really have to
exactly. Yeah, they sell themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have a promo, though, that I want to tell you about. If you go to awesemo.com/promos, Josh can probably speak to this one because it's Usman and Masvidal coming up. And we're doing we used to do weekly promos, but we had a conversation. It's like, why are we doing weekly promos for sports that only have one contest per week? You know what I mean? Like golf, or I get that it's 4 days, or UFC. Why don't we do a month? Why don't we just give straight half off the top of a full month? So then you can get 4 to even 5 events. And now you can kick it off with Usman Masvidal using UFC 261. This is going to be an awesome fight and an awesome card.
Yeah, and if you get in now, you also get this stuff for Whitaker Gastelum this Saturday, which is a fantastic main event. You don't want to miss out on that card either. But we've got UFC 261 coming up a week from tomorrow, I guess. Usman, Masvidal, 2 other title fights on the card. We've got multiple cards coming up. Let's see. If you get in now, you would have the coverage for May 8th, which is Corey Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw. TJ Dillashaw making his return off of a 2-year PED suspension. And then 30 days. So if you sign up tomorrow morning, you will have that coverage for UFC 262 as well. You would get in for Saturday, May 15th. Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler, up top, light heavyweight title on the line. Leon Edwards, Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz making his way back into the cage.
You get 2 pay-per-views worth.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The second card is Saturday, May 15th. So sign up tomorrow morning, get your lineups in for sign up tomorrow morning. I mean, you have another week, so you will get 2 pay-per-views on this.
Awesome. Yeah, 50% off everything we have for MMA. It's valid through the 24th of April. Check it out, and check out our show with Pete Rogers and Jason Floyd. Those guys do a phenomenal job breaking it down. Pete Rogers, a professional Bellator fighter, and Jason Floyd, just the straight up smart UFC and MMA guy. Yeah. They put on a great free show as well. So check it out. Hopefully we'll see you guys over there. All right. What do we got? 3 to go. Making good time today.
We are.
Miami, Minnesota. Miami Heat, 6.5-point favorites against the Timberwolves, 219.5 total. Thanks, Towns, for returning just when I needed you. What are we doing with the Heat?
So normally I would say we're doing nothing, but unfortunately they're taking on Minnesota, and Minnesota's terrible, and this is a pace-up spot, so Miami becomes appealing. I really like Jimmy Butler at 9,200 on Fanduel, 9,200 on Draftkings, but we do need to talk about the fact that he has been playing pretty poor as of late. 1.22 fantasy points per minute, well below his normal rates. He's just really slowed down. Can we talk about how bad of a shooter he is? I touched on it on the Process show a little bit today. Do you know what he's shooting from 3 this year?
Who? Butler?
Butler, yeah.
Yeah, like 25%.
24% this year, 25% last year. That's bad.
It is bad, but he just doesn't really shoot threes.
I know. It's really crazy. Like, if nobody cares that he doesn't shoot threes, but because Ben Simmons doesn't, people want to light him on fire for it.
Totally different.
Oh, I agree that it's totally different because Jimmy Butler gets to the line at an elite rate. He shoots so poorly from 3, and he is still 76th percentile in points per shot attempt. He is able to bail himself out of his absolute poor shooting.
Exactly. That's the thing. With Jimmy Butler, I don't care if he's not shooting threes because he's still shooting and he's still getting to the line. With Ben Simmons, I don't care if he shoots threes. I just want him to shoot.
Yes.
You know, that's it.
I agree.
If you watch any Sixers games, and I know you watch plenty of them, Josh.
I do.
When he has a full head of steam, you can't stop him getting to the basket. You cannot stop him. But for some reason, he just decides that most nights he's not interested in doing that. That's what bothers me. I guarantee you, if he did that, all of the criticism would disappear overnight.
Could you imagine if you put like Russell Westbrook's brain inside of Ben Simmons?
Ben Simmons would be one of the most, it might sound crazy, one of the more unstoppable players in basketball offensively if he had that killer mentality. No doubt about it.
Really would. So anyway, I just want to touch. I didn't realize that Butler was shooting so poorly.
Yeah, it's awful.
Until I looked at it today. It's crazy. And then he'll go into the playoffs and probably shoot like 37%. And it's just nuts. He just turns it on. Whatever. Play Jimmy Butler today on FanDuel. I think he looks good. I don't think he looks 32% owned good, but I think he looks like 22% owned good. You can get to Bam. This is a pretty good spot for him. 7,900 on FanDuel. You can get to Tyler Hero at least a little bit at 4,900 on FanDuel, 53 on DK. But Goran Dragic looks to be back. That kind of limits everybody else. So it's mostly just Bam and Butler for me.
Is there anything on the other side of this for Minnesota? Because Miami's not playing very well, but they're still a better than average defense, and Minnesota's just bad.
Yeah, Miami has been actually bad this year in comparison. It's really surprising.
I looked at the standings the other day, and I was shocked to see where they stood in the standing. Where do you think they are in the standings, if you had to guess?
10th in the East.
Oh, okay, so never mind. I thought they'd be like 5th, but yeah, they're 7th in the East. They're one game above 500.
Yeah. They have a negative 1.3 point differential, the 23rd best offense in the league.
They've definitely fallen off the cliff. This is the same team that went to the finals last year.
Yeah, I feel like no one talks about it, and I don't know why.
What, how fluky they were?
Well, yeah, that, and like how just like they've had some things go on, but I mean, they've been pretty healthy, all things considered. They missed a big chunk of time earlier, but I mean, Butler is there, Bam is there. Tyler Hero has had an absolutely terrible season. They're making these moves to pick up Trevor Ariza. They're going out and getting Nemanja Bjelica. He doesn't even play. I don't really know what they're doing right now. Anyway, don't play anybody from Minnesota, really. Highest owned guy projected on either site, 8% Anthony Edwards on FanDuel. I think that's slightly too high, but that's just a testament of what I don't like here. I'm not interested in Minnesota. It's a terrible spot.
All right, maybe I can interest you in something from Portland and San Antonio. The Portland Trailblazers, 2.5-point favorites, 232.5 total here down in Texas. Do we like anything from the Blazers?
A little bit. I did bring down Damian Lillard's usage rate a tad. Now that Norm Powell is there, Lillard, McCollum, Powell, all just a little bit lower in usage than you would normally expect. So I still like getting to Dame because he's 8,600 on FanDuel. And no matter what happens, no matter what the usage changes to, Damian Lillard has a ceiling that could blow $8,600 clean out of the water. So he will always look like a GPP scenario in that realm. 7,800 for McCollum on FanDuel. You need to roster 2 shooting guards. Cool. He's a 10 to 15%er like every other night. After that, you're kind of just filling in with, if you get a couple shares of Nurk or Powell, that's fine. Dame and CJ are really the only priorities here. And I use the term priority like a little loosely. They're just guys that they're going to play 36 minutes one way or the other.
Right. And on the other side with San Antonio, this hasn't been a team we've really talked about much all season long. Unless there's injuries there, then of course certain guys pop up. DeJounte Murray, DeMar DeRozan have been players that we roster but haven't really been chalky at all this season. Just feels like this entire team kind of falls by the wayside most nights. Do we look towards DeJounte Murray? Do we look towards DeRozan? Or is it another one of those nights where they might pop up in a few lineups, but they're just not priorities anywhere?
Yeah, so DeRozan is totally acceptable at 7,900 on both sites. He's a 10%er. That's where his ownership is. Again, DeJounte Murray, 7K on DraftKings. I don't mind that price tag. I just can't see him as a priority over most of these guys. Like, it's just, it's fine. It's the Spurs. They're never interesting unless half the team is out.
You don't have to prioritize them today, though. Like, we don't have to worry about that on a 10-game slate. There's so many guys already out. We still have pending news. There's no reason to force anything from a team if you don't like it to begin with, Agreed.
Yeah, and I don't recommend it. Only DeMar DeRozan on FanDuel got to double digits in my sim. Best I could say.
I do recommend checking out our sponsor, No House Advantage, by downloading the app and using the promo code Awesemo to get $20 when you sign up and deposit for the first time. I can tell you that much because, well, peer-to-peer prop betting is a pretty awesome format because it's in a tournament style, and GPP, guaranteed payouts, where you don't have to bet single props over at DraftKings or FanDuel at any of those sites. You can put them into a tournament-style lineup, essentially. But instead of the players accruing their fantasy points at a salary, you're betting their props. And if you're saying, but I don't know a ton about prop betting, it's not something I do very often. I'd like to win money. I'd like to go somewhere where there's an edge. I'd like to go somewhere where I can build my bankroll up and get a deposit bonus, but I don't know a lot about that. Well, that's why we decided to make the Awesemo No House Advantage player prop tool and the Optimal Lineups tool completely free, both of them for No House Advantage, all of the time, always free at awesemo.com. So when you do sign up, you do use the promo code, you get your deposit, and you check it out. You go over there to build your bankroll. You gotta be sure to use our tools. Use our tools to figure out where the spots are. Of course, you'll use your own judgment and your own assessments on most of these players. But Josh, the truth is when people are betting prop bets, they're using, like, when pros are betting prop bets, they're using projections and comparing them to what the lines are. So that's what I would do. And I would also check out oddshopper.awesemo.com while you're at it. See where the best bets are. See what seems to be the most common line. And of course, if you're not shopping your odds, if you're not shopping your props when you're betting, you're just doing it wrong. So check out No House Advantage and download the app, use the promo code, and use our free tools. Win some money. Even if you want to take that bankroll, some of it, and bring it over to DraftKings, chase those six-figure paydays, whatever you want to do, but build it up somewhere. There's a great spot to do it. No House Advantage. Anything else from San Antonio, or do we close it out with New York and Dallas?
Close it out with New York and Dallas, and this one won't be all that difficult either. Yeah,
5.5-point dogs on the road against the Mavs. That Luka 3-point win was absurd the other day.
Awesome. Did you see Brunson hit him with the water?
Yes.
So good.
Good. They really love him on that team. They really love. I mean, of course you should, with how good he is. But they Hardaway grabbed him about to throw him over his shoulders. It was a really cool scene.
Sick shot, ridiculous shot. Just
Lucky
so much fun to see.
But it was cool.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, nobody in front of him. Clean look.
Yeah, he misses those most of the time. Then you throw him into that form. Yeah, I would say it was relative.
It's like he accidentally tapped the button for the shot and just had
it
to
feels
let
like
it go.
That. It felt like that. Yeah.
I've had that shot in 2K a lot. Never goes in.
No, ever. He's awesome though, and it was such a cool shot. It was a great way to close out a game, and it was fun. I watched it like 10 times on repeat. It was really cool. But do I think that was somewhat of a lucky shot? It was a prayer. I've seen a lot better 3-point shooters chuck up prayers like that and miss them almost every time. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
It helped him out that there was no one in front of him.
You're right.
Like when he stepped through clean, he had the look. It looks like a bad shot, but he had nothing but space, which is
so off balance though.
Yeah. I mean, he always is. Well,
I know.
His off balance is balanced to most people.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we can agree that it was a pretty awesome shot.
It was sick. Just play Julius Randle on Fanduel and very like 10%, and that's it. You're not playing anybody else from the Knicks.
Okay. Pretty much what we say every day about the Knicks.
Yeah, there's nothing here. Oh, no, we do actually need to talk about this. Nerlens Noel is questionable.
Dude, every single time we close out the Knicks, and then you go back to something that has to do with Nerlens Noel. I love.
Well, he's questionable, and he didn't play the last game. Taj Gibson played north of 30 minutes with Nerlens Noel out. If Taj Gibson is the starting center for the Knicks today with Nerlens Noel out, he is 4,100 on FanDuel and 3,800 on DraftKings. He will be a highly owned value option. You have to be ready for that. There's a decent chance we don't have this news at lock. So it's something that you might have to be late swapping into. I'm assuming Nerlens Noel plays as of right now, but he is listed as questionable.
Last game you said you liked Nerlens Noel if he played because he's been getting minutes. He's a decent enough permanent producer. If he plays, would you consider some of him?
No.
Okay. Let's go to Dallas then. Wrap this one up. You've got the Dallas Mavericks, 5.5-point favorites at home. It's not the greatest matchup. And we've got 9 other games that we already touched on. Luka's price point hasn't come down at all. Kristaps Porzingis is sitting close to that 9K range. Do we have anything from Dallas that we like today?
I kind of like Luka on FanDuel just because of the way that everything is set up. So I want to detail it out. I think Jokic is my preferred pay up option. I would say that Luka is probably second for me, at least on DK. I think it's probably Zion on FanDuel. But just talking it through, I have Luka in my model as a 1.49 fantasy point per minute guy. That's just neutral, matchup independent, all that stuff. He's been at 1.39 over the past 30 days. I don't want to treat him like he's lost 1/10 of a point over 30 days. I don't appreciate that regression at all. So I basically split the difference. I've got him at 1.44 for today. And if that's the case, I think he looks like a really nice pay up option, especially if he's 12% owned on FanDuel and 10% on DK. The DK one is a little bit more reasonable, but I think he should be more in the 20s. I don't think that we're going to have any trouble finding the value in being able to get to Luka Doncic. And if you could open up the ceiling of what Luka can do, I would like to do that.
All right. It's weird. We haven't seen that ceiling in a really long time from Luka.
No, we haven't. And that's relevant, but at the same time, it's also not relevant. Like, I don't think it's relevant yet. I think it matters in the long run. But for right now, I just have to treat it like he can still go out there and score 60. But, here are his last, 12, 13 games. 54, 44, 41, 50, 42, 49, 46, 44, 45, 42, 28, 46. And then he had 3 straight games of 60, 73, and 60. It's still in there. I don't really know what is going on with him. Like, he's just been consistent, maybe not getting to the line as much as you would like. I'm not entirely sure what the real issue is. He went for 44 against them on April 2nd.
The peripherals just haven't been there.
Yeah, it's still Luka, and I'm still going.
All right, I like it. It's been fun. Hit that thumbs up before you guys go. And hey, follow us on the Twitters at Lafy_D, LOUGHY_D, and Josh Engleman. Awesemo_com as well. We will see you back here tomorrow. Not me, not Josh, but we'll be back Monday. The strategy show continues, though. It's a Monday through Sunday. I'll be back on live before a deeper dive. We still got live before lock. We got a bunch of other stuff coming up throughout the day because, well, you got no other place to be other than work and maybe with your family. But if you're looking for DFS content, you certainly have nowhere else to go. MLB Strategy Show starts right now, right on the YouTube channel. Then you got the NHL Strategy Show, the daily game plan behind the paywall for our premium subs, the tip-off, MLB Live Before Lock, NBA Deeper Dive, NBA Live Before Lock, everything right here on the Awesemo YouTubes. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.
Have a good weekend.